right. So we have 7:02, so we will call the meeting to order. It is Monday, September 14th, 2020. It is 7 o'clock p.m. This is the regular city council meeting for the city of St. Peter. We will, we'll call the meeting to order. Would all please join in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I failed to mention that we are coming to you in person. There are 3 of us, and virtually there are 4 council members. Everyone should have a copy of the agenda in front of them. Are there any changes or corrections, additions to the agenda? Seeing and hearing none, is there a motion to approve?
Ed will make a motion to approve.
Renewal will second.
Okay, Ed 1, Shannon 2. All in favor of the agenda as presented, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Agenda is approved. Next, we have the minutes from our August 24th, 2020 meeting. Those minutes appear on pages 5 through 8. Are there any changes or corrections to those minutes? If not, is there a motion to approve?
Emily will so move.
Carrie Johnson will second.
Emily 1, Carrie 2. All in favor of the minutes as written, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Minutes are approved. Next, we'll address visitors. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak to the council on any agenda item? Hearing and seeing no one. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak to the council on any matter whatsoever?
Mr. Mayor, I know you can't see anyone, but I don't see anyone raising their
Okay.
hands.
Hearing and seeing no one, we will move on to the consent agenda. The consent agenda begins in detail on page 9 and concludes with the resolution on page 30. It includes the following budgeted purchases in excess of $10,000 to O'Malley Construction for labor and concrete for floor installation at Public Works Building B for $30,701. To RDO for rental of a screener and conveyor for $15,862. To Resco Ermco for one 112 kilovolt 3-phase transformer and 2 150 kilovolt 3-phase transformers for the amount of $24,123,000. The following employee appointments: to Bridget Boyer as an intern for $11.25 for the period of September 15th, 2020 to December 18th, 2020. There are 2 positions for a part-time recreation leaders: to Mackenzie Van Zee for $10 per hour and to Brandon Carlson for $10.25 per hour, plus the regular schedule of disbursements for August 20th, 2020 through September 9th, 2020. Are there any questions, comments concerning the consent agenda?
No one.
If not, is there a motion to approve?
Ed will make a motion to approve.
Emily will second.
Ed 1, Emily 2. Any any questions now? Call the roll, please, Barb.
Councilmember Carrie Johnson.
Aye.
Councilmember Grahams.
Aye.
Councilmember Bruflat.
Aye.
Councilmember DeVos.
Aye.
Mayor Zeman.
Aye.
Councilmember Ed Johnson.
Aye.
Councilmember Noel. Aye.
Consent agenda is approved. Next, we have unfinished business, which there is none, so we will move to new business. And the first thing up tonight is the 2021 Preliminary Levy. And Sally is here to help us out.
Good evening, Mayor Zeman and City Council. We are here tonight to approve the 2020 preliminary levy. I'm going to try and take this off. I think it might be better. It'll be levied for the year 2020 and collected in year 2021 on your taxes, and the budgets for preliminary budgets for general fund, library, public access, community center, fire relief, and insurance. The preliminary 2020 certification needs to be done by September 30th per statute. So, per statute. Once the preliminary levy is set, we can lower it between now and December, but we cannot raise it. So we're here asking us to set the top limit of the levy. Full detail memo and budget worksheets can be found on our website under the city council packets. The budget information is found on pages 31 through 126. The detail is by individual budgets is in there. That's why there's so many pages. We begin the budget process in June and work with City Administrator Prafke, Public Works Director, Director of Recreation, the Director of Building, Economic Development, and the Police Chief. We have them look at each line item of their individual budgets and think about the needs that are set by priorities and by the City Council, and see how the budgets then influence on our levy that we're setting. We don't go and say we want the levy to be here and then we budget to that. We let all the budgets roll up and then we see where the levy comes in. We don't go in with a high levy now and then come back and look like we saved the city a bunch of money. We want to come in with what we realistically think the budget is and set the preliminary levy at that level. So we usually don't see a whole bunch of any major changes between now and December. But we will continue to look at budgets. If some equipment quotes or something else comes in different than what we had planned, we will make those adjustments and then come back and talk with the council and get that set at the final levy in December. As discussed at the previous two workshops, the projected levy increase is 204, or the projected tax capacity increase for the residents and businesses in St. Peter right now from the county is at 204,966, which is about a 3.3% increase year over year, which will generate about 105,720 of additional tax revenue. We will update this number as we get closer to December again, and that could adjust where we need the levy to be. The actual tax levy, which is on pages 47 and 48, total levy increase is 102,230, or a 3.16%. With this, the actual levy will decrease from 51.58 to 51.53. So we'll see a slight decrease in property taxes, not much, but it's staying basically flat year over year. St. Peter Community Center debt was retired in February of 2020. The $270,000 that was used to fund that bond is being split, 170 back into the community center just for operations. This is a 20-plus-year-old building, so we're going to start seeing heating, ventilation, windows, and some of that stuff over the next few years. So we're building up reserves on that, and that was always the plan when that bond was retired, that we'd use those funds to help this building keep up to date. So we're doing that, and we're also putting $100,000 into the parks funds, as was planned when this bond was passed. Tax impact on homes on page 51 shows that on a $150,000 home, your taxes will decrease 63 cents year over year if your valuation of your house doesn't go up. So as I said, it's not a huge decrease, but it's not an increase, so that's good. And on a $250,000 business, taxes would go down about $2.13 per year.
Sally, I'm going to stop you for a second here, in case people are watching this in the future or even now. So people know this is just the city portion of your taxes. Oh, yeah. The county and the school, we don't know what they're doing yet. So correct. Just we're saying your taxes are going to go down. Overall, we don't know. So
that's
just,
correct.
So,
yep,
so people,
that's for the city
people
only.
Realize that.
Yep, yep. General fund budgets and fund balances are on pages 39 to 44, and then detailed from pages 52 to 124. On page 42, the actual general fund, we are going to be operating at a slight loss of $97,587, and that's 1.6% of the total budget. That's not good or bad. It's just where we're at. We're going to use reserves to cover that $97,589. Last year, our reserve balance was at 52.9%, or almost 4.3 million. The 2020 reserve, we're forecasting at the end of this year to be at 3.9 million, or 46.5%. And in 2021, we are budgeting right now that we'll be at 3.7% in reserves, or 44.4%. The decrease is well within our range. The council has given us direction that they want to be between 35 and 50% of a reserve balance, so 44.4, we're right in where we need to be. Expenditures increased about 113,000, or 1.4% of the 2020 budget, and most of that is in salaries and insurance costs. Right now, we're budgeting just a little over 2% for our general population for employees year over year. As I said, there's more detail in the packet if you want to discuss it, but right now we're asking you to approve the preliminary levy resolution on pages 125 and 126 of the packet.
Okay.
Questions?
Questions for Sally? I know we've talked about this a couple of times, and some of you I know have talked to Todd and maybe to Sally between meetings and to try to get some more information. That's great. Appreciate you doing that and trying to find out how this all kind of ties together. But other than that, is there any questions at this point? And like Sally said, tonight we're just setting that levy amount.
Carrie?
I have a question, Mr. Mayor.
Yep, go ahead, Carrie.
And thank you also for along the way for helping answer my questions that I had as we've reviewed this a couple times. You had said when you were speaking earlier that if there's any major change, we'll know that. How do you let us know that with?
We'll come back to you at a workshop before
Okay.
we set the final levy and go through all the detail again and say this changed from when we set the preliminary levy, and this is what it's going to do to our levy going
Okay.
forward. So we
So
will
if
come
it's
through it,
impacting
and you'll
the
get a whole
levy.
nother big packet to look through and go through again, but I will detail it out and say this is what changed from September to now. So
Okay.
you're aware of that.
Thank you, Sally.
All right. I thought I saw a hand go up, but I missed it. Anybody else? Questions at this point? I don't see or hear anyone. The resolution adopting the preliminary 2020 tax levy collectible in 2021 appears on pages 125 and 126. Is there a motion for approval?
Carrie Johnson, so moves.
Edel, second.
Steve Graham, second, Mr. Mayor.
All right, we go Carrie 1 and Steve 2. Any questions at this time? Call the roll, please, Barb.
Councilmember Grahams.
Aye.
Councilmember Bruflat.
Aye.
Councilmember DeVos.
Aye.
Mayor Zeman.
Aye.
Councilmember Ed Johnson.
Aye.
Councilmember Noel. Aye. Councilmember Carrie Johnson.
Aye.
Resolution is approved. Thank you for all your work, Sally, and we'll
Thank you.
Thanks,
be
Al.
talking soon. Next up, we have the USDA debt issuance for Rivers Edge Hospital. Todd.
Mayor, members, the information starts in your packet on page 127 and then has a number of pages, including loan documents or debt issuance documents with the USDA. As you may recall, Mayor and members, this has been planned now for 2+ years. This is the most cost-effective way to bond or issue debt for the hospital expansion that you're just wrapping up. We're at the 99.99 percentile and finishing everything up, and so it's an appropriate time to move forward. As you may recall, you've used some cash. You have some long-term debt issuance, about $5 million for this project. But the good thing about this is that it does refinance your GO bond that you approved in 2003, 2004. And so that is no longer on the tax base, and the debt is being held by the federal government for that. So it's not held locally, it's held at the federal level. The reason there are 4 notes here, or 4 loans for debt issuances, is based on the rules put in place to us by USDA. And so what we're requesting is you approve the resolution that provides for the issuance of this debt at 2.25%. And so there's some additional information, and your city attorney and I were on a conference call today, making sure that everything was set to close during the last week of this month. And the resolution, Mr. Mayor, starts on page 150 and was drafted by your bond counsel. I cannot express how well this project has gone and how fortunate we have been to be in the right position to maximize the low interest that's available through the USDA and the federal government for this project.
Yes. I lost you guys on the screen. Does anybody have any questions? For those of you virtual, just speak up. Can someone acknowledge that you can at least hear us? And
Give us
let's
a
say,
thumbs up.
This is Brad, we
Nodding.
can hear you.
okay,
Yes,
all right.
we
I
can
just
hear.
wanted to make sure that everybody got an opportunity.
Ooh, coming back.
All right. Can see you now. If there are no questions, I just want to make out state something here. John Kwame brought this up 2-3 years ago, and he was kind of amazed that the rest of the council wasn't more excited, because he had been here for 28 years almost, Jerry 30 years, and he said this may be by far the largest approval you have to do ever while you're on the city council, for 33 million and something other dollars. So it is a big deal. It doesn't happen very often. So you guys are aware of that. That's all I wanted to say. With that being said, the resolution accepting the offer of the United States of America to purchase taxable health facility revenue bonds, Series 2020, and providing for their issuance appears on pages 150 to 158. Is there a motion for approval?
Noel will move.
Ed will second.
I'll second.
Okay, we got, I heard Shannon 1 and Ed 2. Any questions at this time? Call the roll, please, Barb.
Councilmember Bruflat.
Aye.
Councilmember DeVos.
Aye.
Mayor Zeman.
Aye.
Councilmember Ed Johnson.
Aye.
Councilmember Noel. Aye. Councilmember Carrie Johnson.
Aye.
Councilmember Grams.
Mr. Mayor, can you see how excited I am? Aye.
Is that everybody? Must be. Resolution is approved, and thankfully, Steve, I can't see how excited you are. So we're good to go. All right. Next up, we have the Mmua safety contract renewal, and Pete.
Mayor Zeman and City Council here tonight to ask you to allow us to enter into an agreement with Mmua to service again for the October 2020 timeline to September 2021 timeline for our safety coordinator and training through Mmua. We have experienced very good results in working with Mmua, over 20 years worth of experience, just dealing with the city of St. Peter, how we operate, it really shows up well. Our staff is great as far as open to receiving training and working in the function that's high hazard in some situations. We appreciate the hands-on training that the Mmua gives us, and it shows in our workers' compensation claims and how we do things. And I know Todd's got a little surprise for you that he can tell you about as far as the costs that we've been saving.
So, Mayor and members, last time you may recall, our experience modification was at a 0.92. Average is 1.0, so we were lower than average, which in this instance is good. For this cycle, we are at a .68, which is just marvelous. So how does that happen, you might question? Well, we had a couple of big losses that have now fallen off our timeline that gets rated. But overall, your teams and your crews do just a very excellent job, and so that saves you real money on workers' comp costs. So we're very excited about that. And we, again, encourage you to enter into the agreement with MMUA. They are not the only reason, but they are an important part of the system that helps keep us all safe and saves you and your taxpayers money.
All right. Great job, you guys. Appreciate that. Any questions for Pete or Todd on this issue?
Mr. Mayor, this is Shannon.
Go ahead, Shannon.
Thank you. One thing was not quite clear to me reading this. Is it just one individual that we contract for their services, or does this agreement with MMUH give us multiple individuals?
We have a variety. Anthony Lenz is our main contact here. He's assigned to our community, but we also have specialists come in that train our linemen in substation and hot work. And so we have a variety of different people that come in and interact with our staff. It's always good to get a fresh eyes on what we're doing to make sure everything is staying on an even keel. And MMUA has done that for us.
Thanks.
Carrie?
Thank you. Well, I get excited, Mr. Mayor, about experience modification ratings. So I think that's wonderful, and that's something that I pay attention to in my own employment situation. So I wanted to know if that's the lowest that has been for a while, or I know over the years you probably can't speak to that, but I mean, how does that compare to the last
My
several
best
years?
recollection over the last 22 years is that this is the lowest we've been in 22 years. We've typically been in the lower 90s to the very high 80s. And so at least during my tenure here, this is the lowest that I can remember.
And we haven't been above average anytime recently?
I do not recall a time when we have been over 1, when our claims have been higher than average. We have always had claims lower than average.
Okay, very good. Thank you. And then I also just had a question for Pete about how this contract will work, and with the safety coordinator with COVID-19, if they are doing, are they still coming in person? I imagine it's important for them to view the site for safety guidance. So can you tell me how that's working in pandemic
Sure.
times?
Yeah, Anthony, initially the first couple of months, we did a lot of work by go-to meeting and a lot of phone calls. Once everything loosened up a little bit, we came back in smaller groups, and so Anthony's had to give the same presentation 4 times to groups of 10 during the course of the day. And so we just break down and come in smaller groups, or he goes on site and trains individual groups, which really helps hands-on. You can see expressions and have a little better contact. I know it's a little more work on their end, and we anticipated a little bit of cost increase because the time is a little more. But he's done a nice job, and the guys are still receiving the training, and our number of incidents are down. And so we anticipate a really good result again in the upcoming year.
Thank you.
Any other questions? The resolution authorizing execution of renewal safety contract with Minnesota Municipal Utilities Association, MMUA, appears on page 167. Is there a motion for approval?
Emily will so move.
Carrie Johnson will
Steve
second.
Graham, second, Mr. Mayor.
All right. Emily 1, Steve 2. Any more questions at this time? Call the roll, please, Barb.
Councilmember DeVos.
Aye.
Mayor Zeman.
Aye.
Councilmember Ed Johnson.
Aye.
Councilmember Noel.
Aye.
Councilmember Carrie Johnson.
Aye.
Councilmember Grahams,
Aye.
Councilmember Bruflat. Aye.
Resolution is approved. That concludes our new business. Next, we go to reports. The only thing that I'd like to say tonight, one other thing anyway, is I don't know what changes we made, and maybe we didn't make any, but the baskets, the last couple of years, the flowering hanging baskets look great, but the median plantings are unbelievably great. A couple people had brought it up, and I noticed it here a couple of weeks ago, and I thought, wow, it really does stand out this year. So I don't know what we did different, Pete, or what the situation is, but it sure does jump out at you and makes a nice appearance. With that, Todd,
I'll let
on to
them
you.
know.
All right.
Pete will let the crews know. Thank you very much. Actually, just on Saturday, I saw a wedding couple having their pictures taken, right, with the median as the backdrop from the Capitol room. So it was,
Really?
yeah. So
They
it's
were-
beautiful. Yeah.
She wasn't dodging traffic.
No, but they were both wearing vests with,
Oh, okay.
with reflective on
All
them.
right.
So anyway. Mr. Mayor and members, typically we've done a COVID-19 update. This meeting is no exception. Just to remind you that we continue on the regular protocol that we have. The facilities continue to be open with masks required. Hybrid meetings continue to be in place for the council. And virtual meetings for all the boards and commissions continue to be in place. I will mention that the community center has modified its hours, and there are some additional policies in place relative to open gym and other activities that occur here. So as you're coming to the facility, please make sure you're checking out the signage or call ahead, and we'll be happy to share that with you. Check out our website or our Facebook page, and we have all those rules and all of that information available to folks. We still want to be available, but we want to be available safely together. So please check out those items. The next item that I have, Mr. Mayor, relates to electric vehicle charger updates. As some of you know, there's been work going on near the food co-op and what we call parking lot number 2, right behind River Rock, near what people used to call the phone house, I've understood now, where a number of different ownership groups have owned phone switching services. So, Pete, what can you give us for an update on the electric vehicle chargers?
Sure. Zeph Energy has been down here this morning and had worked with our electric superintendent, Jason Lee, and everything has checked out and everything is energized. This week they will program the rates into the electric units and they will be good to go. They will get energized on the computer websites and we will be in business. And so we're anticipating activity within the next few days.
Fantastic. So that's a great project, part of your Green Steps program and your overall sustainability program. So that's a big leap forward for us. And as Pete indicated, as soon as those are set to go, they'll go on the state website, which then feeds lots of other folks who use mapping systems to be able to acquire locations where they can charge their cars. Of course, people will have to swipe their credit card and spend some money downtown, we hope, because they'll be there for a little while. So we really hope that business owners downtown will appreciate that additional opportunity for some of those customers. The last one that I have, Mr. Mayor, is just to remind the council about the change in leadership that we have related to the community hospital, Rivers Edge Hospital. At the next commission meeting, next regular meeting, of course, tomorrow we have a special meeting related to the USDA bond issue, just doing the same thing that you did tonight as a council. But next week, we have a regular commission meeting, and we'll be talking about the plan that we have going forward, how it's working in relation to interim leadership and where we go. I would expect that as we move into October, staff will evaluate and present to the commission a couple different options for search. And so that will be part of the discussion that the commission has in October. And as you know, we'll continue to keep the council updated because the commission and the council have to work in tandem as you look to hire a new hospital CEO. Mayor and members, I think that's really all that I have for you for this evening.
All right. I can't see you again, and that's fine. We can finish the night out this way. Does anybody have any questions for Todd, or does anybody have anything they would like to share? And just go ahead, because I can't see, and just start out if anybody does. And if I don't hear from anybody in the next second... Go ahead,
Mr. Mayor,
Steve.
this is Brad. I have a question
it's
for
Brad,
Pete,
okay.
if he's still around.
Pete is
Just
still
wondering
on.
what the rates are and how they were set for the charging stations.
We'll probably bring that back to you guys at the end of the year when we do the fee schedule, but right now, like most other simple communities, we went with Zeph Energy's recommended rate, so it's pretty uniform throughout the southern Minnesota territory.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Questions?
Mr.
Go ahead.
This is Shannon.
Mr. Mayor, this is Steve Grant.
Just a second, Steve. Shannon, go ahead.
I just wanted to say a couple things. First, I've heard real enthusiasm about the electronic vehicle charging stations. I don't own an electronic vehicle, so this was all new to me, but people are really, really excited about this. So I'm pleased that we've been able to pull this initiative together. I have heard one area of concern about the parking lot next to Ryan Electric, about people who live downtown losing off-street parking access. Have you guys heard any concerns about that, or do you have any concerns about that during snow emergencies and things?
Right now, I'll let Pete speak. I'll let Pete speak to that one, and then I may chime in.
Okay.
We haven't heard too much related to losing parking stalls. As you're probably aware, there's many areas down there that become publicly used in a variety of different manners. But we do have plenty of parking in that area, whether it's immediate to their home or they have to walk a block. There's still quite a bit of access for those customers down there.
Okay, thanks.
I mean, it is true that that general use is losing 3 parking stalls in that area. But as Pete indicated, the information that we have is that there is ample parking within the rear of buildings in the municipal-owned parking lots. And that parking lot was specifically picked for a number of what we think are very positive reasons for locating an electric vehicle charger. And so we're excited about that. And if people do have struggles, they don't have to go too far. As Pete said, within a block, they should be able to find ample parking.
Yeah, I was sort of agreeing with that assessment. I think there's a lot of good reasons to put that in that spot. I just wanted to see if you guys had been hearing anything, or if you shared those concerns, if people had shared those concerns with you as well. So
the biggest concern, frankly, that I've heard has been from a neighboring business who used that for overnight and full weekend parking for their service vehicles. And although we're happy to do that when and where we can, I don't know that that's necessarily the intent of those lots, but we're happy to do it when and where we can. And at least at this juncture, we thought that charging stations overrode those opportunities when across the street remained other opportunities.
I would agree. And like I said initially, I've heard tremendous enthusiasm about these. I think they're a real asset to downtown St. Peter. So thanks.
Right. Mr. Grams.
The only thing I wanted to say, Mr. Mayor, relative to enthusiasm, was that I was at River's Edge all week last week, and I talked with many nurses, and all of them were extremely enthusiastic about the new addition and all the work that had been going on at River's Edge. So I'm assuming that would make up for my lack of enthusiasm. Sure.
Steve, I guess in 8, 9 years that we've been together, 8 years, I just have never seen you jump up and down about anything.
No, I gotta learn how to crawl before I can jump, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Mayor.
Ed.
So, Pete, if somebody parks in one of them spots, are they going to get a ticket or towed immediately?
It really depends on their awareness, Ed. I mean, if they're doing it intentionally so that people can't come in and charge, it's really a courtesy issue. We'll try to work with them and let them know what's going on. And if it continues, I guess there's options such as ticketing and towing.
Okay. All right. Anyone else? If no one else has anything to add or any other questions, we will ask for a motion to adjourn.
Ed will make a motion to adjourn.
Carrie Johnson will second.
Ed 1, carry 2.